So it falls in Zulhajj. Now, what are we supposed to do? Most especially the first 10 days. The Prophet ﷺ, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no days in which good deed is so beloved to Allah like in the first 10 days of the Hajj. Again, there is no days in which good deed is so beloved to Allah like the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj. And the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, wala jihad fi sabilillah, even striving in the path of Allah? The Prophet ﷺ said, wala jihad fi sabilillah. Even striving in the path of Allah is not so beloved to Allah like doing good deed in the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj. The Sahaba again asked, Ya Rasulullah, wala jihad fi sabilillah, even striving in the path of Allah for you to go out on jihad fi sabilillah? The Prophet ﷺ said, even jihad in the path of Allah, except a man who went out with himself and the entire of his property. When you go out on that jihad, he and his property never return. That is the person that you can like it. You can equate it with somebody who did good deed in the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj. You can see how great it is. Therefore, a good deed is highly recommended in every month. But it becomes so intensified that doing good deeds in the month of Dhul Hajj in the first 10 days, it has a very huge reward. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is mentioned in Surah Al-An'am, chapter number 6, verse number 160. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Man ja'a bil hasanati falahu al-ashru amthaliha wa man ja'a bi sayyi'atin fala yujza illa mithlaha wa hum la yuzlamun. That if you come with one single good deed, then Allah will multiply for you by 10. And when you come with one evil deed, it will not be recorded for you except one. Meaning, one good evil deed, one record. But one good deed, 10 records. This is in other months. But when it comes to Dhul Hajj, most especially the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj, then the reward is only known to Allah. And that is why Allah said, there is no good deed so beloved to Allah in any of the days like the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj. Therefore, good deed is highly recommended. Where the problem is, we have the problem of narrowing our good deed to only fasting. You know, most of us, we fast a lot, most especially in the first 10 days of Dhul Hajj. It's a very good recommendation. The Prophet ﷺ recommended us to do good deed, and among the good deed is fasting. Abdullah ibn Umar, one of the great Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ma min abdin, there is no single servant, yasumu yawma fi sabilillah, he fasts one single day for the sake of Allah, illa zuhziha Allahu wajhahu an nar bi sab'ina kharifa. That there is no person who will fast one single day fasting fi sabilillah for the sake of Allah until Allah will distance his face away from Jahannam like a journey of 70 years. So your face will be distanced away from Jahannam for like 70 years. This is the opinion of the scholars. Now here, for you to fast is not a very good recommendation. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 183. كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Allah said we made fasting obligatory upon you so that you will attain taqwa, you will attain God consciousness, you will become more fearful about Allah, you will become more conscious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you fast, fasting is drawing very close to Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ did mention that on the day of judgment, certain things, meaning actually two things, will come on the day of judgment, interceding on behalf of their companions. What are those things? Among them is fasting. When you are fasting, suppose on the day of judgment, the ruling has been made. Allah said you are going to Jahannam. Fasting will appear, oh Allah, this person I deprived him of eating in the daytime when he was alive because he's seeking to get your face. Oh Allah, grant me the ability, give me chance, the opportunity to intercede on his behalf. Allah will say, intercede on his behalf, and your intercession will be accepted. SubhanAllah. So fasting is high recommendation for every Muslim. Therefore, if you have means to do so, then you shouldn't hesitate to fast in most especially in the first 10 days of Ramadan, of the Hajj. We shouldn't hesitate to do so. Now, some go far to fast the whole 9 days of the Hajj. Because you can't find, if you say 10 days, then Eid al-Adha will be inclusive. Therefore, you are not going to fast on the Eid day. But some go far to fast the whole 9 day. However, scholar differs in understanding whether this is sunnah or it's not sunnah. What do I mean by sunnah? Does the Prophet ﷺ practice that? The Prophet ﷺ never fast the whole 9 days. But he fasts a lot in it. But he never fasts consecutively. That is why the scholars will tell you not to do so. We dislike that for you. However, fasting in it is so a high recommendation. Therefore, it should be part of what we do every day. And fasting, if we are able, in these days of Zulhajj. The second, actually I planned 10 ibadah that we should be able to carry on. All of them, we are highly recommended ibadah that we should do in this particular days. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Amal al-Salih. He did it only restricted to fasting alone. We should forget about other aspects of ibadah. The second is as-salah, our obligatory salah. How often do we observe our salah in congregation? How often do we go to the masjid before the adhan will be made? How many of your 5 daily salah, salawat, are you able to observe them in congregation right behind the imam? In the first sahu, not after the imam the salah is over, the other salah is taking place. What I'm trying to say in essence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not only ask you to observe salah, but He stipulated the period of you observing the salah. It is mentioned in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, chapter number 62, verse number 9. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, all you who have believed, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمُعَةِ, if the adhan has been made for salah, for Jumu'ah, or for congregation, Jam'i, then first out ila dhikrillah. You should hasten to the remembrance of Allah. وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ, leaving every form of a transaction. This is best for you only if you know. Here, the word Jumu'ah has 2 meanings, and each of these meanings are applicable. The first meaning is Jumu'ah, the normal Jumu'ah Salah we go to observe. So if you translate it to mean, all you who believe the adhan is made on Jumu'ah day, you should hasten, that is correct. The second meaning is Khamsu Salawat. Subh, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. If the Salah adhan has been made for this day, then you should hasten to answer that call of Allah. And Allah said that is best for you only if you know. It is further mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 103. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, فَإِذَا كَدَيْتُمُ الصَّلَاةَ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ فَإِذَا اطْمَأْنَنْتُمْ فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. That certainly salah has been prescribed on a mu'min, on a Muslim, within a stipulated period, within a specified period. Meaning salah has a particular time, out of which every Muslim has to observe it without exceeding the period. Therefore, your salah is one of amal salih. Observing the salah at its right time is the very best. The Prophet ﷺ was asked by Sahaba, Ya Rasulullah, أي أفضل أعمال إلى الله تعالى, which ibadah is so beloved to Allah, which ibadah that Allah loves so much, have a higher level of reward in the sight of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ responded as-salat fi awwal waqtiha, observing salah at its first period. So what is the first period of salah? You try to observe salah, and that is why you need to be in congregation. Therefore, observing salah in congregation is so important. So we shouldn't fast alone and then overlook the obligatory, the compulsory salah. The other part of salah is our nafila, voluntary salah. It is not compulsory on you. You will not be asked question about whether you do nafila or not on the day of judgment. But it is al-sunnah al-mu'akkada, a strong sunnah that is recommended for every Muslim. We have to observe salat al-nafila in the day and at night. This is one of the very good recommendations for every Muslim to do. If we are obliged to do fard salah, and a lot of problem we have in the course of observing salah, some of the salah I will observe, they are not accepted. So on the day of judgment, the nafila, the voluntary salah, will be used to fill the gap of your missed compulsory salah. Therefore, if you don't have anything to offer, then you'll be in trouble on the day of judgment. So what do? We hold our nafila in very high esteem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is mentioned in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 79. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا part of the night, you should rest up and observe Salah. When everyone is sleeping,